The following programme has not been approved by any sanctioning bodies associated with MLS, US Soccer, or Don Garber. It is not intended to replace actual informed opinions from soccer experts. Side effects may include propensity to spout bad takes, excessive use of salary acronyms, and a longing for the return of running penalty kicks. The World Scam is not responsible for increased enthusiasm for Major League Soccer after listening. Enjoy at your own risk.
Hey, you! Welcome back to the World's Gam. So happy to have you here, Kevin Wallace, alongside the Chief. And Chief, we are here to talk about all things Major League Soccer, or, whatever else is on your mind. So, Chief, what in the world of Major League Soccer, what is, as we sit down to record this, what is top of mind for you right now? Let's just go there.
What is top of mind for me?
When I say Major League Soccer, what's your first reaction?
Playoffs.
I have so many thoughts.
Yeah. How can you not? The league that is just it's a content machine. It's a content machine because you get the sense right now that something is going to change in 2027 when this league moves to the new schedule.
They're thinking,
but I am getting the sense that maybe the people running this league don't fully know what's going to happen this time a year from now when we flip the calendar. Like, in terms of what are the salary and roster rules going to look like? What is the competition format? How we are going to crown the MLS Cup champion as presented by Audi, as discussed by the World's Gam. I don't know that they know this right now. And I do you get the sense that they're just throwing things out just to see what the public reaction is? And then they haven't officially made a proclamation, but yeah, we'll let Pablo Maurer have this information and we'll see what the reaction is. And it's like the scene from Family Guy where Peter's like, well, I was thinking about proposing a threesome jokingly at first, but just to see what your reaction would be.
Right. It's in politics, you get this with floating, right? You hear the concept of floating.
Yeah, the trial balloon.
The trial balloon, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, let's spread some rumors that old Marco Rubio's thinking to run for president. Let's see what happens in the political discussions. If
Make sure the right people hear about this and just hey, did you hear Marco Rubio? Little Marco's thinking about running for president? Well, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. It's
okay. No, I mean, nobody said anything officially.
Right. Yeah. It's like, did you hear that this candidate for Senate is thinking about endorsing? Ooh. It's like, what do you think about that? Just, hypothetically, that we're definitely going to report back. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely feels like the entire league is being run via trial balloon right now. It's not clear that there is, I think you've done a very good job. You've articulated this point on any and all platforms that the commissioner is a figurehead to sort of a literal lightning rod to take the hate and the feedback that the fans have about the league that would otherwise be directed at ownership that runs the league goes to them, and they're sort of taking the brunt of that. There is a part of me that would really like somebody to actually have their hands on the steering wheel and be doing stuff. And I know Larry Berg is going to start next year. I think we get some sort of, three-headed, the triumvirate from the Roman Empire days is going to run it during the sprint season. And then he takes over after that. But Don Garber's there now. They have a committee of owners, which I assume they're sending, the most talkative owner or the one who actually wanted to run a sports team versus the ones that wanted an investment tool. They're doing this via committee, but it feels like none of these guys know how to run a sports league, and they don't have any concept of what they want the league to look like. That all of this it's like the first principles are not, fair competition or interesting competition or compelling competition. It's we need to have 45 playoff games to sell. What's the best way to organize a format to sell 45 playoff games? And you go, well, you could do World Cup groups, or you could do like a triple elimination tournament with 20 teams, or maybe you could do like a hybrid split schedule, and then we call the whole second half of the season playoffs. That's like, oh my God, why don't you think like, how are we crowning a champion? Playoffs or regular season? Let's start there. Okay, playoffs, that's fine. That's a perfectly acceptable way to do it, but just do that. Okay, what's the best way to distill 30 teams that have played a 34-game regular season to that? Do you want it to be left up to chance? Do you want there to be a wait for the regular season? How much of a wait? A lot of wait? A little bit of a wait? Like
a ton of weight?
I think there's ways to do this. And all of it seems to be based around we got to sell so much inventory over the course of a 4-week period at the end of April, beginning of May. Oh my God. Could you have a slightly different perspective, please, for the love of God?
So this all comes into Level Set. This is reporting from The Guardian by Pablo Maurer, and I'm just going to quote directly from the article because it's very well written. Go check it out. Pablo's work is always really, really good in the more investigative journalism side of MLS space, a little less on the day-to-day transfers, drama, that sort of thing, and more on big picture stuff, which there is quite a bit of right now. From the article, Major League Soccer is planning a significant overhaul of its playoff format. Multiple league sources and club sources told The Guardian this week. The changes, which would debut in 2028 alongside the league's fall to spring schedule. So if the schedule flip happens next summer, this would be for the playoffs in 2028, part of that same year.
Right.
Could include a double elimination component and see as many as 20 teams featured. Sources spoke on the condition of anonymity as they were not authorized to discuss the league's plans. The Guardian has viewed a potential schedule for the new format in which the playoffs start in late April and unfold over roughly 3 weeks, with MLS Cup play being played on Sunday, 21 May 2028. The changes to the playoff format would pair with long reported changes to the regular season, with the league going to a 5-division setup in place of the Western and Eastern Conference schedule. Notably, the 20 potential spots wouldn't necessarily be evenly distributed among the league's division. Instead, all teams would be combined into a single table at the season's end, with the overall 20 best teams advancing to the postseason. 8 of those 20 teams would take part in a play-in round, with 4 advancing to create a final field of 16 teams. The top 8 teams in the combined table would play in a double elimination round, a move that seems aimed at further incentivizing the league's regular season matches. A win in that initial round would see the team through directly to the quarterfinals. Teams, sources said, would be reseeded after each round, ensuring that a higher seeded team are offered competitive and hosting advantage throughout the playoffs. MLS says it is yet to make any formal decisions on the future of its playoffs. The proposed format is unique, skipping ahead, is unique in U.S. sports, but if you're a ball knower, I'm adding this part because this is something that I picked up on rather quickly as a sports fan of some more obscure sports around the world. The proposed format is unique in U.S. sports, but closely mirrors that of the AFL, the Aussie Rules Football League, the elite levels of Australian rules football. It has used what it calls a double chance format for decade. The league has had discussions with the AFL about its playoff approach, one source said this week. Kevin?
Yeah.
You're so to this format specifically.
Yeah.
And what is being proposed.
Yeah.
I've seen some comparisons to a very famous scene in the movie Basketball. Highly highly underrated
Yes.
screwball comedy from the late 90s. Cannot recommend it enough as a watch when you are in a slightly altered mental state from some sort of a controlled substance. But just your top line reaction to this as an idea for a playoff format for MLS.
My gut is like, I think the format is interesting, and in some ways I think it's compelling. I worry that it is so complex and dense that it will be difficult to sell to a casual sports fan, and I struggle to be able to articulate why the seeding matters so much when 20 teams get in. So like you mentioned, the first 8 or the last 8 or whatever would play a 1-game play-in. It seems interesting to allow 20 teams to get in. So you could finish 13th in the combined table and lose 1 game and your season's over. And like, that's tough. So, but I don't know.
But also you finished 13th.
Yeah,
like,
granted.
Play better.
Fair enough. But like, I don't know. What's your takeaway hearing this? I know my thoughts. I don't know your thoughts on this one.
I kind of like it.
Okay.
Like
I was
really,
getting that vibe as you were reading this. So yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So full disclosure,
yeah.
I love Aussie Rules football.
Yeah.
I have loved Aussie Rules football for a number of years. I love their playoff format with the way the ladder, not the table, the ladder is seeded into the playoff. I like the idea of double elimination, especially in a sport like soccer, where the single elimination feels incredibly punitive for what amounts to an entire season of games. There is, most cup competitions don't use single elimination until you get very deep into the format. Of the ideas for how you avoid that, like there's been a lot of proposals for how you avoid that. We do best of 3 series now.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody likes that as a format. I don't think there's a person out there that likes the best of 3. We used to do the home and away with goal aggregate.
Yep.
Everybody hated that too, because the games were played way too close to the vest and everybody just waited to try and get to the home leg and win on the home leg. Get your away goal if you can, but do no harm. And the games were kind of dull, which is a problem with that format worldwide. In fact, about the only thing they haven't tried is the group stage format, like mirroring, Gold Cup or the World Cup or what have you. But there's logistical problems with that just because it takes forever to do that. You have to play a round robin and it's
so much travel and so little time.
Yeah. And so if you are committed to this idea of playoffs, and you have to find something that serves all masters, it has to be something that produces good games. It has to be something that isn't single elimination, because we've established that single elimination is too punitive to spend an entire season playing these games and then one bad night and you're out, which doesn't seem like what anybody wants. And you got to do something that, recognizes the reality of soccer, which is you can't do it like the NBA or the NHL where you play on, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can't do that. These games have to happen in a reasonable amount of time with the travel and everything and recovery. Of all the options I have ever heard for how you would solve MLS playoffs, I think this is creative. I like the idea that they are talking to somebody else that is actually using this format as opposed to creating something wholesale. There are some similarities between Aussie Rules football and MLS in terms of the physicality that you have to have in order to play, like the schedule in terms of recovery, the amount of travel that you have to do across the continent of Australia to handle these games. It's not like you're pulling a playoff format from Belgium or someplace where the country is the size of, Kentucky. So I don't know. My first reaction is I like the idea of MLS at least trying to think outside the box for how to do this.
I don't like I to be clear, like I don't hate the format. What I worry about, and I'm curious how you reconcile this. 20 teams is a lot. And this format is interesting. I do think the format rewards the regular season, but do you think this waters down a 34 game regular season to get to this playoff format?
I don't.
Okay.
And part of the reason why I don't think that is that the other sort of thing that, I'm hashtag noticing here is that this format makes a lot of sense if MLS goes to like 40 teams.
That's interesting.
That this is very well situated to have the league grow and have the playoffs sort of matter more, and to the idea that like this is kind of like an uncapped system for growth in MLS. This does not depend on an Eastern Conference table, a Western Conference table, where you could have, okay, so they're going to go to divisions. This format also works if you want to have 8 divisions in MLS of 5 teams, and you have 40 total teams in MLS, and you put them on the table.
Yep.
And the top 20 make the playoffs. All of a sudden, that's like, all right, that's got some interest to it.
I like that.
If you go to a format too where all the division winners go, that also could be very interesting as a way to do this as well. There's different permutations of this that I like. And the other thing too is that when it comes to playoffs, there is this sort of thing you have to just accept with playoffs. And that is that the goal of playoffs is kind of twofold. Number one, it's to create more high leverage drama matchups for television. It's a television creation.
It's a storytelling device more than a sporting device. Yes.
Yeah. The goal of playoffs is not to find who the best team is. The goal of the playoffs is to create a compelling thing for TV viewers to watch that is understandable. Like March Madness is great, not because the best team wins, but because it's a great drama-filled watch if you are a neutral fan. That's number one. The other thing that playoffs are really there for is that it is a conceit to the idea that if you don't have playoffs, that at some point during the regular season, teams will start to become irrelevant in the overall chase for a title. Yeah. And that in this country, in America, it is a very specific American problem, is that there is so much competition for your attention as a sports fan that the second your team of choice stops playing meaningful games because you've been eliminated from playoff contention or from title contention, there are 2 other, 3 other, 4 other sports that are dying for you to switch the channel to go follow them. And so as a result of that, does it water down the playoffs to have a lot of teams make it? Yeah, that's been a problem with the NBA and the NHL for years. But the other thing, the inverse of that is also true. Baseball had a problem forever that not enough teams made the playoffs, and teams would be mathematically eliminated by like August, late July, and you could fire a cannon off in the ballpark and no one's there because your team's drawing dead and calling up September rosters to see prospects play, and nobody wants to go to the games. So you sort of have to accept that once you go to playoffs, that the purpose of this is to keep fans engaged with the teams as long as possible. And so does it water it down a little bit that 20 teams make the playoffs? Yeah, but also it means that there are going to be more people that give a shit about these games down the stretch in February, March, April, as the teams come back for the second half of the year.
Yeah. Not for nothing as well. Unless they've changed it recently, doesn't the College World Series use a double elimination format?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They use a double elimination format as well.
So it's not totally unknown in the American sports world. Chief, can I pitch you my alternative playoff format? And this is not a bit. This is a genuine attempt to solve a lot of these ones. Now, I will say, like, there's still plenty of issues with mine here as well, but I like what they've done here. 5 divisions of 6 teams. You play everybody in your division twice, everybody else in the other divisions once. It gives you a nice 34 game regular season, which is what we have now. And we're going to do the same thing. We're grouping everybody in a giant table at the end. But this is what I would do. I'd say the top 2 in every division are guaranteed playoffs. I don't care where they end up in the table. So if you win a bad group or a bad division, so be it.
Okay.
Then I would take the top 5 teams who are not in the top 2 based on the overall standings as sort of your wild card teams, those top 5. And that to me would make up the playoff field, which is a 15-team playoff field. Sounds weird, but what that gives you is your Supporter Shield winner gets a bye and everybody else is in a bracket. And we can do the whole reseeding, but this is what I would do for your games. I would do that first round without the Supporter Shield winner. That first round is a home and home tie where we're doing aggregate goals, but if the aggregate goals end on a tie, the tie goes to the higher seed. So you got to go beat the higher seed. This is stolen shamelessly from Liga MX. Liga MX playoffs runs with this rule. If a game ends in a tie in their playoffs, the tie goes to the higher seed.
I always like the idea. Yeah, I like the idea too of doing the if somebody had this during the World Cup, that you do the penalty shootout right at the end of extra time, and that whoever wins the penalty shootout gets the plus 0.5.
Yeah.
So if extra time ends in a tie, the winner of the penalty shootout gets that, but at least both teams have to go for it still. And you can't play for the draw after the shootout, which I love.
I like it. Your added time already has like a narrative, right? Like one team has to try, the other team has to defend.
Yeah. I like
that.
Add that wrinkle. I'm sold on this right here already.
Okay. Maybe we do that. But after this, we're doing single elimination after that. So now it's all drama, but we've got our field down to whatever that ends up being, 8 teams. And then it's single elimination. And here's the thing I would do. And Chief, I think you're with me on this. I got a lot of pushback in the Soccer Wise Discord. Neutral site final.
Do you think this league can support a neutral site final at this point?
This is what I would do. This would be my sort of addendum proposal. I would do the All-Star game on Friday in that city. And I would do MLS Cup Sunday in that city. And I would make that weekend MLS weekend. And I would invite all my media partners. And I know neutral site isn't great. What I would have to do, I'd have to get a commitment from owners, is they'd have to be willing to subsidize a lot of the travel for the fans, at least up to, 5 to 10,000 fans per team that makes the final, right? So you guarantee something. You give the higher seed the supporter section of whatever stadium they're in.
Okay.
But I'm thinking with the All-Star game where it is now in the schedule, will now likely fall in the winter. You're going to end up in an awkward situation where New York's about to launch a new stadium. Boston's on the cusp of building a new stadium.
Chicago is under construction.
Chicago, Minnesota, Toronto's a huge market for you. They'll never host an all-star game.
Right.
And, it's a crapshoot as to whether or not they'll ever host an MLS Cup, let alone make one. So, I think this is a way to highlight your markets, your new stadiums, the investment. And I would pump it all up into that one thing, and maybe you get a ticket to both events or whatever it is. I don't know, but I would put all my eggs in that one weekend basket.
We have talked about this in the past, I think, with this idea that because MLS Cup, you don't know where it's going to be until the very last minute. You don't get that Super Bowl effect where all the NFL media can coalesces in one spot for constant coverage. So I'm not saying no to this. I like this as an idea. I'm not saying no.
So some of the pushback was obviously it was a bunch of pushback from fans who got to witness their MLS Cup final in person for their team, which, yes, if you had that experience as a top 5 sports experience for you, I'm sure it was great. And you're mad that somebody wants to take that away from you. for the 29 other teams, it was a game on TV. It could have been played in Thailand for all we cared.
Right.
It was a game on TV. Doesn't matter. So that experience doesn't change. It also doesn't really change for the visiting team. So like, okay, my team made MLS Cup final. And then I know you want to reward regular season performance, but like, especially in a 20-team format, you could end up with a hypothetical team that finished 18th hosting team that finished 20th. And we're saying it's their God-given right that 18th seed needs to host. Like, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So
I don't hate it. But
Okay.
like, I think the bottom line is that like, I like that the league is being creative
Yes.
and the league is thinking about different things. Also, you know, not for nothing, again, not to, you know, beat the point. I do also like the idea as a long-term goal for MLS. And I said this on X, the Everything app, all happening on X, obviously. So the league is moving to a winter schedule.
Yeah.
To align itself a little more with the European leagues and the rest of the leagues in the world. The league is also moving, we are told, to a salary structure that is a little less complicated and a little more like what the rest of the world looks like, probably with something of a hard cap or a soft cap with aprons and a luxury tax. But like, we're going to be able to not have to worry about, you know, max TAM slots and can this player fit in under the max salary, but that's all going away. So we are slowly moving towards more of a European or, you know, we'll say global, because that I hate saying Euro because South American leagues do this too.
Yeah.
But regardless, like there's two frontiers that haven't been breached by MLS yet. One of them is Pro Rel, and I don't think that's coming ever, if not for a very, very long time. And there's a bajillion good reasons why that is the case. And if you want to read all about those, just type in Pro Rel for USA and just read the debates online that people have about it. I'm not interested in doing it here. That's one. The second one is the idea of the regular season points leader on the table being the champion of the league.
Right.
And that isn't the case. We have Supporters Shield, but Supporters Shield, everyone will tell you that MLS Cup is the prize. MLS Cup is who the champion of the league is. Shield is a neat thing when your team wins it. And it's cool. You got to watch a lot of great soccer over the year. You put something in the stadium on the wall to commemorate it, but it ain't the prize.
Right.
Now, how that changes in the future is if there is a bigger distinction between the regular season and MLS Cup as a purely cup tournament, a purely postseason cup tournament that is prestigious, but is very divorced from what happened in the regular season. And when you make the playoffs something expansive like this and very different like this, it does raise the possibility as well of moving to a system where your champion is the team that finishes top of the table. And you are then invited to this postseason tournament that is also prestigious, that is also something you can win, but that looks more like a trophy like Leagues Cup or US Open Cup than being the championship of the league. And, you know, I'm kind of woke to the idea a little bit that may be a direction we head in the future with MLS. I don't think we're there yet, but the more you differentiate and make the playoffs almost like another season or another tournament, it starts to feel like there's the possibility there that these are different things, as opposed to what we see usually in American sports of the playoffs being the continuation of the regular season versus a postseason tournament, which is a very different thing, I think, in soccer.
Yeah. Chief, do you know off the top of your head what the regular season trophy is in hockey?
Oh, I do. It is the President's Cup.
It is. Oh, well, technically it's the President's Trophy.
Right.
I only learned this because I typed in President's Cup. Turns out that's a golf tournament.
Okay. President's Trophy. Yeah.
So it's the only other league that I'm familiar with off the top of my head that does bother awarding this in this very specific way. The other way that this is done, and the analogy I often use when first explaining soccer to, American sports fans who are just getting into soccer, is NCAA basketball, where you have your conference tournament, you have your conference regular season title, you have the NCAA tournament, and then obviously the NIT and the CBB. But then also you got like the Maui Invitational, whatever other, the Jimmy V Classic and stuff, where it's like that's kind of like your League's Cup or something.
Battle
like
for
that.
Atlantis.
Yeah, like you got some other weird, fun things happening. Maybe there's a game on an aircraft carrier for reasons. And I like that idea. This is something that, and you mentioned this before, or at least alluded to it, like Belgium has done stuff like this. The Netherlands have done stuff like this. I think Austria does stuff like this as well, where they will literally play half a season, split the season in half, or like the table in half. And the top half of the table is essentially in playoffs for the second half of the season. And the bottom half, in Europe, they're fighting a relegation championship or relegation playoff or play out, I guess. But yeah. So like there are some similarities there, but I do like this. I think it'll take a little bit to get there, but overall, like to get my head around, and obviously fans' heads around this format. But my ask to MLS is whatever format you pick, promise.
Stick with it.
Do it for 10 years. I don't care if it sucks ass. You got to do it for 10 years.
10 years.
The only thing I will let you do is if you expand to 36 teams or more, I might let you add a team or two. But if it's 20 teams, you don't get to add until you go over 40. Okay. That's stupid. But if you do 16 teams or this 18 with two kind of bullshit buy-in things or play-in things, you don't get to touch it until you go over 36 teams.
No, I agree. I'm excited about it though. I am excited about new ideas. I'm excited about new things. Not the only big news in MLS though, Kevin.
Yeah.
This one's more of a bummer, I think, for me. And I wanted to bring it up and give your reaction on this.
Okay.
So going from playoffs, which I think is exciting, to a little bit more of this. The San Jose Earthquakes hiring of Gavin Wilkinson as a consultant. Wilkinson was the president of soccer operations for Portland Thorns and the Portland Timbers.
Yep.
He was fired in 2022 from his position at both clubs after the release of the Yates report, which was about as damning a piece of reporting or journalism or HR nightmare document as you're going to find. In MLS and NWSL, that it detailed systemic abuses of both a sexual nature and a personal harassment nature that was covered up and whitewashed by the organization. I don't know how to think about this. San Jose has been kind of a fun story with Bruce Arena at the helm. What they've built has been an interesting team that I think we've all enjoyed watching as a result of this. And to hire someone who the first thing when you Google them is stuff like this, or, he was involved in the cover up with Andy Polo and the domestic violence allegations, or I think substantiated allegations. I don't know. This made me feel icky. And I don't love this for San Jose fans. There's no worse position to be in as a fan than having to be the but guy when your team does something that's kind of screwed up. I don't know. Do we have to move on at some point when somebody has screwed up in the past, or are there some things where you just don't get a second chance unless you mea culpa and we see some some evidence of some genuine redeeming or remorse or something, which maybe Gavin's done. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I didn't love this story at all.
No, and like I believe in second chances. I believe people can grow and change as humans. That being said, it seems like just an ill-advised move to put him back into a similar position as the one he was in, where he at the very least assisted in the, or help facilitate in some small way or in some large ways the abuse of players and their families. And why couldn't he work at a sports agency? Or maybe even that's not even good, but there's got to be a scouting agency. There's got to be something where you could you have this skill set, but you're not in charge of player livelihood. And maybe that's kind of what this consulting job is.
Because he is only, I should say that the reporting from ESPN on this is that he only has this job until the end of the year to consult with San Jose, after which time I believe the intention is they're going to hire a full-time general manager or director of soccer operations or sporting director to assist with Bruce Arena. So it's being pitched as being temporary. But it does feel like a foot in the door to sort of sports wash.
Yeah.
Can you say you're sports washing someone in sports?
I think it works. Works.
Yeah, to just to sports wash Gavin's.
Chief, you know what I just
reputation?
realized? They're doing this to buy time before they hire Ernst Tanner to be.
Oh my God, you gotta be no.
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they?
I don't know. Because after hiring Gavin Wilkinson, anything looks better, I guess.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. But Chief, I also think too, I know Bruce dodged some questions about this post game or during training whenever he had a gaggle with reporters. And part of that I kind of get, because I don't know how much of a hand Bruce had in this or if this is ownership doing this. But Bruce is wearing both hats right now. But also the team has announced their intention to hire this role, which kind of sounds like they're taking one of the hats away from Bruce, which is what makes me think it might not be his choice. But at the same time, I'd have to think he at least had something to say about it. But man, this makes Bruce look worse, or what Bruce potentially did look worse.
I don't know that Bruce had I'm not convinced Bruce had anything to do with this. That hasn't been reported. This story kind of flew under the radar a little bit. And I don't know that we talked about it enough, or if we mentioned it in passing. It has drawn rebuke very recently from the NWSL with the other NWSL team in the Bay Area, speaking out against this, hey, this is kind of screwed up. And so I was
remember, do they share an ownership group?
I don't know. It's what is it? It's Bay FC, I think.
I think it's just Bay FC.
Yeah.
If they share an ownership group, this is horrific. If they don't share an ownership group,
yeah, there's no organizational overlap betwin those two, but they share facilities, but not an organizational overlap.
That's not good.
Still.
I'm not saying one is good or bad. There's degrees here. I'm measuring the degree of badness. Last year we joked with Chicho Arango and Bruce were there, sort of like the island of misfit toys. The guys we weren't allowed to know what they did all ended up on the same team. But now you've had a Gavin Wilkinson, and I feel like it just paints all of those guys with a worse brush, even if they don't deserve it. This is an organization that allows this in the door. Oh, and they also let these guys in too, who had this dark cloud over them. I don't know, man. I as an organization, I don't know why you'd invite it. And it's consultant, which makes it weird for the fans to really push back, because I feel like Wilkinson was announced as a GM, or maybe just a candidate as a GM for Sporting Kansas City, and their fans revolted so hard they backtracked and walked away from it. Wilkinson might have quit. I don't remember the exact outlines of that story, but it was something along those lines.
Not good. San Jose's SGs have objected to this pretty strenuously. There's some statements that have been released recently. This is one where it's like, this has been I feel like this story went way more under the radar than it needed to, given like how bad Gavin Wilkinson's conduct was.
I appreciate you highlighting this. Yes.
By Portland. But so stay tuned to this because, like I said, back in the news this week because Bay FC released a formal statement condemning this. The supporters have been not behind it. This is not going to go away from an MLS point of view. You want to go back to a good story, though, this week, Kevin?
I do. Please.
People living out their dreams. The transfer is official. Xavier Gozo.
Yeah.
I always get confused when it's a Z and not an X. Like X, I really understand as a season ticket holder for Xavier basketball, but
is it Xavier Gozo? I've honest to God never heard it said out loud.
Xavier Gozo. I think it's Xavier. I think it is Xavier. Actually, we should know this, but we don't because
that's what makes this really fun.
Because we read, we don't listen. Joining Crystal Palace from Real Salt Lake, $15 million, and Gozo was he was a trendy pick back before the World Cup to claim one of those last couple of roster spots.
Yeah.
And I think depending on who you listen to, interestingly, he and his teammate Diego Luna were both kind of the last 2 or 3 that didn't make Pochettino's squad.
Yeah.
Promising youngster, incredible talent, 15 million clams to go over to Crystal Palace. Kevin, your reaction to the news. If you're a Real Salt Lake fan, is this hell yeah or hell yeah, good for him?
It's one of those things where it's like, I think you're happy that your team is making money on the youth pipeline. Generally, like that's always a positive. If you had me pick between, does your team generate a profit from youth prospects? Yes or no? I'm going to pick yes every time. Like that feels like a better, healthier club. But like you want them to win you something first. You want to see them become something for you first. It would have been cool to see him guide the team to a cup or a cup final or a deep run into the playoffs or a miracle something here or there. You don't get that part of the story. You get the nice payday, which is nice, but it's like you got all of the parts of being a fan without seeing like the team win a whole lot with the star player. I don't know. That part always bums me out where, you know, everybody's got like, I don't know, like what's the point of sports? Like I'm not rooting for the team's bottom line. Now, if this can immediately be turned around to, you know, 2 or 3 like big investments over the next window or 2, and that goes on to win you a trophy, then maybe you feel differently about this. But in this moment, I think you have a lot of mixed feelings about this because the only one who's really benefiting is your owner's pocketbook.
Yeah. And it's like Real Salt Lake doesn't have a great history and a great track record of making sure that money gets back onto the field. Yeah. And what's interesting about it is that like $15 million, that could make a huge difference if Real Salt Lake decides to reinvest that. Like if you can go out and get a $15 million player, we've seen what a $15 million player can do for teams in this league. You wonder if you could have gotten this sale done earlier, could that $15 million have paid Hugo Kuipers to come in? And,
that would have been interesting.
Right? It does sound like Chicago was not interested in selling him anywhere in MLS. And I don't know that he would have gone anywhere in MLS. But yeah, I mean, that's real money. That's real. That will keep an eye on how Real Salt Lake decides they want to spend that. And if you're a fan of that team, keep the ownership's feet on the fire on this. Don't let them off the hook cheap on this. Kevin, a couple other random quick hitter topics before we get over to recommend some games.
Yeah.
More good news. So we had our bummer story, but I wanted to highlight another good story that I loved. I don't know if this one crossed your desk this week.
Ooh.
So we are firmly in right now. If you are a fan of a team in this league right now, if you are, well, number one, if you're not, why are you listening to this show?
What the hell are you doing?
Like major sicko. And if you're like the two of us we're season ticket holders of an MLS team. We're fans just like everybody else. No, we do not get comped free tickets for hosting a podcast with incredibly low download numbers.
You'd be shocked to hear that, but it's true.
I would take free tickets if anyone's offering, but they're never going to offer. So
not from a lack of trying.
No, but like everybody else, we're in season ticket renewal season. I have re-upped. Kevin, you re-upped as well, I believe. So yes. They got us for another year, but this coming year will be a little different because of as we've mentioned many, many times, the schedule flip and the sprint season that will be happening in the winter and spring of 2027 that will set us up for the complete schedule flip in the summer of 2027. Many people asking, many people attempting to figure out how that's going to work, what the rules are, what the salary rules are going to be, how it's going to work, how the pricing for your tickets are going to go. Some teams are making it one renewal for the sprint season and your 2027-28 season. Others are treating it as a completely separate thing. One team that I absolutely believes deserves to be shouted out in this space is Atlanta United.
Ooh.
And the reason for this is that for the sprint season, since it is their 10th anniversary in MLS, they are dropping their ticket prices to what ticket prices were in the original season of Atlanta United for the sprint season. It's resulting in 40% cut in price for all tickets in Mercedes-Benz arena or stadium. Supporters section tickets will average $17 per match for anyone in the supporters section of the Five Stripes. Look, the product on the field has been dog shit, objectively, but absolute nothing but respect. Like, if you want to get people turning out again for whatever the hell we're going to watch in this sprint season, I love everything about this. This is something I would love to see more MLS teams doing, is to use the sprint season as an advertisement for your product, because every game is going to matter. Every game is going to have a play, like theoretically should have a playoff like atmosphere, because there's only so many of them before we get to the playoffs. The goal for every team should be, we should have a packed house for every one of these games. And if that means selling tickets at cost or at a loss, get people in the door, get people excited. This is a really rare opportunity where you don't have to talk about devaluing your product, because you are doing a devalued season anyway to fill time. Get people in the door, get people excited, make some new fans.
My only concern is there, Chief, you said it was a 44% discount?
40% discount.
40% discount. Prices have gone up 40% in 10 years. You know what hasn't gone up 40% in 10 years? My salary.
My paycheck. No, sir.
So, woof.
Like, on one hand, it's like, hell yeah, good job, guys. On the other hand, it's like, wait, you raised prices how much in 10 years, you thieving bastards?
You're putting it back at 40% for the regular season? How about we drop that back down to 20 and we start negotiating on a couple more wins before you start jacking these things up?
It's like there's like a thing philosophically, the frog on a hot plate thing, where the idea is if you slowly turn the temperature up on a frog that's in water, the frog will not notice that it's boiling. When you do something like this and really call attention that we're reducing ticket prices 40% to what they used to be 10 years ago, you're letting me know what the temperature of the water is. When I was perfectly content to cook, and now I'm all of a sudden looking around thinking like, man, I don't think it's good for me to be in this pot right now.
Yeah, that's unhealthy. We should all go dig up what everybody's tickets cost in 2016 and 2017 and see.
Yeah, I don't think I would like to see that. I do not think I would like to see how little I was paying back then.
I've read something, and now I'm gonna live fact check myself before I tell you my pet peeve here real fast. Hold please.
This is great radio for everyone. We're doing like live lookups. It's fantastic. This is why like better produced podcasts have someone that is actually just like the lookup guy.
Yeah.
We can't have a lookup guy though.
No, we can't.
We barely have a host the podcast guy. We're missing one of our hosts. We're missing one of our hosts the podcast guys.
we don't have time for host the podcast. Okay, it was the metaphor. If I remember the story correctly, the whole boiling pot experiment with the frogs. I think the metaphor is great, and I don't want to take anything away from your metaphor. It doesn't
comport with science at all?
Unfortunately, one, it doesn't match with science, and two, I am fairly certain in the original experiment, they removed part of the frog's brain. Which feels like cheating. So
it also is a perfectly good explanation of most soccer fans that follow this league too, myself included. Part of our brain isn't there.
Boom, roasted.
Yeah. Cell phone. Hell yeah.
There you go. That was the radio. Because I was going to say no, the brain was removed, but then I thought like I've only heard that and I don't know that for sure. So there you go. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Chief, I got one last one for you here.
Okay, you do one last one. I've got one last one after you, but you go first. And mine will be quick.
Okay, mine was going to be interesting news out of Austin and Minnesota is that Austin FC has poached the general manager of Minnesota United to take over this fall, or actually what is immediately, right? He takes over immediately with
right
Jim Curtin taking over as coach in the winter. This is interesting for a number of reasons. One, we don't usually see GM being poached to join another team. Other piece of this is, interestingly enough, they reached out to FC Cincinnati first in the reporting from Tom Bogert, who were interested in Chris Albright. FC Cincinnati said no. It certainly sounds like, in a little brief aside with Tom Bogert, that Chris Albright was ready to say yes. It reminds me of when Chris Albright was initially named general manager of FC Cincinnati. His first choice to coach his team was Jim Curtin. And the reporting there was that Philadelphia did not allow Jim Curtin to move. He was under contract. The unwritten side of that story was that Jim Curtin would have been more than happy to go join FC Cincinnati at that time. I believe he was fired a season later. The Chief, what do you make of the poaching of another team's GM in MLS?
Doesn't it feel like a bad look for Minnesota? That like doesn't this give the vibe of that you are like Kent State to Austin's Michigan or something like that, or you are North Texas to their Oklahoma? Like this is like this feels like a college sports thing where there's a pecking order and the big boys poach off the little guys. Number one, I'll put it this way. Number one, it's a bad look for Minnesota. Number two is if you're Austin, doesn't the fact that they give you permission to talk to them raise questions that you should probably be asking yourself? Like if you ask another team, if like you are, if you're asking another team, hey, we think your GM is doing a great job and we would like to interview him or her for our opening. If they're like, yeah, absolutely, go talk to him, please take him off our hands. Like, wait a minute. Why are we so eager to do that? Yeah. Hey, hang on a tick. Like,
hey, man, is your wife free for dinner this weekend? As a matter of fact, she is.
Just make sure when you book the room, it's got the chair. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, like I would. It's like the old Groucho Marx line. I don't want to be a part of a club that would have me as a member.
Yeah,
like,
right.
If you're giving me permission to talk to your dude, that maybe I don't want your dude now. All of a sudden.
Yeah, hang on. He's okay with it. You're okay with him.
You're okay with it? Like what? Like
Khalid
yeah. Hey, we saw you from across the bar.
Yeah,
we saw you from across the bar. We really liked your vibe.
Right. The name there, Khalid El Ahmed. I wanted to make sure I got that out there. Yeah. What's interesting too is Minnesota doing things where you're like, gotta have them. Like, that's a team that we just gotta emulate what they got going on over there.
I mean, I guess that you would say that. I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe this is the first set of dominoes for teams that in this brave new world of MLS. Like, we've talked about it a little bit, that there's going to be different things happening in this league in terms of spending and roster construction. And maybe if you're Minnesota, you look at your GM skill set and think, this isn't the kind of guy that we want when the roster rules open up. I mean, there's a whole industry of GMs in this league. The aforementioned Chris Albright, I think, falls into that, where part of their value is their ability to navigate the rules and the salary structure of MLS. And if that's going away, then is this person as valuable of an asset for your organization? Or if you're looking to get someone for your organization, are you looking for someone like, okay, we plan on being a big spending team. Let's go get a guy that is going to facilitate us spending big money.
Yeah. Versus
Minnesota thinking, well, maybe we need to go with someone who's a little more cost conscious given our market size. I don't know. This again goes back to the idea of I don't know that the people in running this league know quite what's going to happen in a year. And I think it's leading to some interesting situations like this.
Yeah.
If you're Minnesota, though, you got to say something to your fans, right? You got to be like, you got to call him a bum or something like, yeah, we never wanted his ass. Like, I know this looks bad, but you wouldn't believe what a jerk this guy was to everybody, to your favorite player. Like, you know, your favorite player, James Rodriguez or whatever, he would be here if it wasn't for this jabroni that chased him out of town. Like, you gotta MF this guy, right? A little bit.
Man, they were so proud of hiring him. Like, they made a big deal about hiring him and everything too. That's what makes this so shitty.
Tough.
I do think it's an interesting statement of intent from Austin to poach somebody from within the league. Like, this kind of like throwing your weight around, and you're kind of showing that you're one of the big dogs, right? Like, guys will leave. If you thought this was a lateral move, you're trying to assert yourself that this is the team that you'd want to be moving towards, not away. So that's always good. But like, the other part of it is too, do you want to be playing in maybe international markets if you're going to try to do this move? But then also, his resume kind of backs that up. So I don't know. It's an interesting move from Austin as well. They'll certainly have their work cut out for them because their last GM was way better at selling players than signing players, which was a hilarious skill set to have backwards, I think. So
yeah, Austin needs a reboot a little bit. This is definitely a reboot. Here's a question I want you to ponder, because I don't know we have the answer to this right now. Who put out there that Chris Albright was up for this gig? Because that gets out for a reason in all things. Is that coming out? Because it doesn't seem like it would benefit Austin to have it out there that you had another choice ahead of the guy that you ended up with.
And I think an objectively better choice. I feel like if most MLS fans had to pick between one GM
certainly
and the other,
certainly the better success rate, like the better pedigree. So if Austin's not putting that out there,
I don't think you do wonder how their laundry out there. Yeah.
You do wonder how and why that ended up on the desk of one Mr. Tom Bogert, and what the reason for that making its way to the court of public opinion would be.
So they have a pre-existing relationship. They're good friends. I do wonder if this changes the Albright side of the equation if Jim Curtin's not involved. Let's say they had already announced Oscar Pereira is going to be the next manager of Austin, or hell, maybe it's Wilfred Nancy, right? The right. MLS coach that every MLS fan mentions. I don't know if Chris Albright's beaten down the door to join the Austin project. Maybe he is. I don't know enough about the sales pitch that they gave him. I do think that this was largely my guess would be this was largely a Jim Curtin motivated move.
Yeah. Just, it's interesting to me that became public, because that doesn't seem like something that otherwise a lot of people would want out there, that we're actively we're getting turned down for other poaching things, and that we had another choice first.
Yeah.
Kevin, I'll end on this before we go and we give the people a game to predict, because I know that you're a big gamer. FIFA or FC 27, whatever the hell EA Sports calls their game right now, has released the latest numbers for MLS players, the top players in MLS on the Football Ultimate Team. And I have to ask you this question.
Okay.
At this moment right now, would you consider Luis Suarez and Hani Mukhtar to be equivalent players?
Oh. No, but I think they're probably closer than people would suspect. But man, Suarez is on the downswing here. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Would it surprise you to learn that Evander, Anders Dreyer, and Denny Bouanga all rated the same rating?
Huh.
That rating being 2 points lower than Heung-min Son and a full 10 points lower than Lionel Messi.
Okay. Look.
Do you give a shit about any of this? Because like I'm not a FIFA guy. I'm not an FC guy. It's not my. I'm more of a there's gun and ball gamers, and then there's sword and potion gamers. I'm a little more into the sword and potion gamer side of things.
Well, I don't
way
know.
More excited about the new Kingdom Hearts trailer than FC 27 release, or 28 or whatever number they're up to, releasing their player ratings.
I think it's interesting. It's a funny thing where like I do think it's easy to dismiss, and it probably should be dismissed generally, but I do think people, and I will turn the funny bit into a serious point here for a moment. A startlingly large number of soccer fans, especially in the United States, are introduced to the sport via FIFA, now EAFC, and the comparison between teams and leagues ultimately comes down to these arbitrary top line numbers and star systems and overall ratings. And I think it behooves MLS to advocate for and push for higher numbers, higher equivalent ratings, so that when players, when video gamers are, not trying to differentiate between soccer players and the players playing the video game here, but like when they're playing like, Arsenal versus Inter Miami, I know they're different levels, but to the video game audience who maybe isn't as in tune, if that looks more narrow than it is, that perception gap can pay dividends long term for Major League Soccer. And so we need to bribe EA to juice the ratings a little bit for MLS players. It would be better marketing than MLS could buy anywhere else to do a $40 million buy to EAFC for a 10-point bump across the board for every player. So we're talking Lionel Messi as a 99, Evander as an 89. Now we're talking. Let's see here. What else we got? Philip Zickernagel, 77. It would be an 87 there. Petter Musa, 87. I mean, dude, you're putting together a pretty damn good team right here with some of these numbers right here. And now these guys are must use in Ultimate Team. Now these guys are must use online. Their cards are more collectible. This is what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you may need to fuzz it at the top, but like, this is be worth it. Can I interest you in either a Pavel Buka or a Max Arfston, both at 85 under this new system? Finally, they are showing what they're actually worth to the rest of the world. Yeah. How about that? Kevin, want to go over to the next segment, give people some games to watch and get out of here? Let's do it. Right, we are back with my favorite segment where we tell you how to be a fan, or at least where to be a fan, or at least where to point your
How?
eyeballs to be a
Or
fan.
why to be a fan.
And we give you a couple of games to pick. So, Chief, we're looking ahead. We got a huge slate of games on Saturday. We actually have 2 games on Sunday, not on top of each other. So you have a chance to watch a couple of games now. They're maybe not the most appetizing matchups on Sunday, but they are there nonetheless.
They're there nevertheless. Like of all the games that are there, these are certainly some of the games that are available.
You better believe it. So, Chief, is there a game in particular that has caught your eye you think might be worthwhile?
There is actually. And it is the Saturday matchup at 8:30. And it is the matchup. I would dub this the no shit really matchup of the week. Not quite the Walmart Saturday showdown, but still something I think we need to be aware of. And that is if I were to tell you that this is a number 1 versus number 6 game in the Western Conference, Houston versus St. Louis City. The response would be, no shit, huh? Like Houston, as I think you mentioned, and that we should be talking about more. I'm going to try, hold myself accountable, hand up. I'm going to try to get us a guest that can talk a little bit about Houston and what they have going on out west. 38 points, top of the Western Conference. Incredible right now, out of nowhere.
I'll pat myself on the back, man. A couple of weeks ago, I said, hey, we're not paying enough attention to this team. They're on a streak. They're in striking distance to do some damage. They did it.
Yeah, they're doing some damage. They're doing the damn thing. But what is a little more surprising is that St. Louis City, they have snuck quietly up to 6th position in the Western Conference on 30 points. They're firmly in playoff position. These are 2 teams where I think that both their fan bases would be thrilled if you would go back and tell them at the start of the year that this is how it's going to work out for them so far. I think this is a very interesting matchup, a very fun matchup, and I would be tuning into this if I was a neutral on this.
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic pick. Chief...
Do you know, actually, before I go any further, I went back and I found this just now. Do you know the letter grade that we gave St. Louis City FC going into this year when we graded all of the teams and ranked all of the teams?
A D?
We gave them an F, straight F. Do you know the letter grade we gave to the Houston Dynamo?
Probably an F then.
We gave them a C. So
Okay.
This is your classic CF matchup between 2 playoff teams, and one of them is leading the Western Conference.
Chief, I have a pick here. You're not going to like it. Nobody's going to like it, but I like it. Give me Sunday, 7 p.m. Atlanta United, Sporting Kansas City.
Hosted oh God, why?
At the Benz. This is number 29 versus number 30 in the Supporter Shield standings. Something's got to give. A proper 6-pointer in a world
in the wooden spoon race.
This is, look, if we don't have relegation,
this is brutal, by the way.
If we don't have relegation, we have the wooden spoon. It is the true mark of utter failure. Atlanta United played in a wooden spoon final on the final game of the season last year, where if they did not win, or if DC won that game, Atlanta would have won the wooden spoon. Kansas City is 3 points behind Atlanta. If they were to beat them, they would tie on points. Now, granted, Sporting Kansas City is currently at a negative 30 goal differential, and Atlanta's at negative 12. But I think this will be an interesting tell to see just how far away Sporting Kansas City is from the bottom. Atlanta United had a win in their last game against Minnesota, but you mentioned St. Louis. Last run out, they drew Sporting Kansas City 1-1. That happened yesterday.
I may put some money on this game to end in a 0-0 draw.
I think if this ends 0-0, every person who watched it either in person or TV should be refunded whatever it cost them to watch this game.
Right. Your time was more valuable than this. The other option might be just to put money on both teams to score and just sit there rooting for a goal from both teams. That might be the true sicko way to watch a game like this. Is dying to make sure that like both teams get a goal. You don't care who wins or who loses. They both just got to get on the score sheet.
Sporting Kansas City recently let Manu Garcia, essentially their only bright spot on this roster, walk away for free, a mutual termination. They're in the market for a big DP number 10. Apparently that signing is expected soon, but it's not here yet. So they have managed to make their team worse with where they are right now.
Cool. Neat.
So
it's a good slate of games. Enjoy that. Kevin, anything else for the people tonight? We've yapped a lot.
If you really needed another game, Vancouver Whitecaps hosting FC Dallas should probably be a more entertaining game, but it's not as fun to talk about.
Banging goals, baby.
Let's do it.
Release the tapes.
The World's Game is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out online at thepostcincy.com, where you can find out more information about the people putting this podcast together. I also want to give a huge thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers, a fantastic band that has provided us with all of the music in this episode. The voiceover work at the beginning of the episode was done by Steph E., which was paid for her time and also not an AI voice. And if you have liked what you have heard so far, or even if you haven't, I am begging you, please like us, rate us, review us, leave us 5 stars. That would be amazing. Leave a little note saying how much you liked it. But maybe more importantly, share this with a friend or mention us to another fan of an MLS team. I think that would be a lovely way to help our little community grow. But regardless of whether or not you liked it, whether or not you share it, whether or not you review it, I want to say thank you for listening to it.